Hi there, it's Heather. Thanks for joining me. I've been having a bit of a tidy up of my embellishment area, and I thought you might like to see some of the containers that I've been using for storage of the embellishments. So I've got these very small ones here that I think I actually had items in to start with, and I've ended up removing some things and decanting other things into them, but I tend to keep some of the smaller pots because they're a nice way of compartmentalizing some of the embellishments that I've got. I'm putting these smaller containers into a larger container within the drawer, so you will see at some point the clear out process and how I've been putting the drawer together. So these items are actually going in sort of a like-minded area, similar sort of thing. So for example, the gems and the pearl embellishments go in one box, and sequins and buttons and things like that all in one area so that it's easy for me to find. Now I have found that the key for me is to have clear containers, and I do like things in little tiny boxes. So these little containers here, they're absolutely fantastic. They're from Home Bargains. If you're in the UK, then these are brilliant. I think you get 4 in a pack and they're really cheap. These containers here are jars that I get my vegan collagen supplement in. So when I've finished with the supplements, I basically just peel the label off, and I've got to remove the sticky stuff on the outside of this particular one, but I just use the sticky stuff remover just to get rid of the sticky residue, and then I can put something else in it, so I just give it a quick rinse out. And then they're brilliant for storing things like buttons, so I've managed to get most of my buttons into these little jars, so they're absolutely fantastic for that. But those containers from Home Bargains, they're absolutely brilliant. I highly recommend those. They've lasted really well, and I've had some of them for absolutely donkey's years. So another style of container, again, it's the same thing really, it's just a different size. I don't know where I got this particular one, but it's just enough to be able to keep my embellishments in colour order and segregated a little bit so that I can see what I've got. And all I've done there is just stuck the labels on top so I know that I can reorder them because I'll know what they're called. But the sequins, oh, it was such a jumbled mess, so it took me absolutely ages to sort them out. But what it has done, it will stop me having to buy more sequins. So the purpose of it was to stop me going out buying anything else and actually just shopping my stash. So what I'm doing is putting those smaller containers in a container like this, a much bigger container, and they fit really nicely in the drawer, and it just stops things from sliding around and keeps like with like. Now, one of the other containers that I'm using, apart from these ones, is absolutely brilliant. I'm reusing other containers as well. So for example, the takeaway style containers. So this one I had to patch up with a little bit of tape because I had broken it. But when you've had a takeaway, obviously just wash out your containers and you can use those to contain smaller items. So these ones, I didn't want to take them out of their original packaging because there's no point, it's containing them quite nicely. So I've just popped them into one of these slightly larger containers and labelled it so I know what's in there. And again, what it's doing is stopping me from going out and buying anything else because I know now I've got all of these beads, I've got all these sequins, I can just dip in there and use them. Now these are new boxes that I got, and I probably showed them in a video a little while ago. They're from Poundland, but they weren't a pound. I can't tell you how much they were, I can't remember now, but they're actually double-sided, so you can get loads in the boxes. They weren't very expensive, and I'm actually considering going back to get some more. They're not the best quality, the hinge isn't brilliant, I'll be honest, but they are helpful because the container bits inside are rigid, so you don't get that bit where they're all sort of falling through to the other side. But also they have different sizes, so you can put different embellishments in the different compartments, and I thought they were good, and they are actually really quite cheap. So that's Poundland if you're in the UK. Now these larger boxes here I got again from Home Bargains, and I've had these ones for years. They're absolutely brilliant, and you can get so much in, and this is a large size. They do a medium and a small as well, and I do have a couple of the medium, but I have quite a lot of stuff, so I do prefer the larger sizes. And these have the removable inserts so that you can make the containers larger or smaller inside the little compartments. Now I don't find these very useful for the smaller beads because they tend to slip underneath and sequins slip underneath, so you can't really contain them quite so well, but they're brilliant for things like the flowers, just to sort of make a smaller compartment if you've got a lot of different varieties. And you'll see there's a running theme here. I do have a lot of clear containers because I have found that if I can't see what I've got, I'm not using it, and it has to be organised for me, otherwise it drives me crazy. So I am what appears to be a bee, if anyone's ever seen Clutterbugs videos, because I do like to put things in little boxes and see what I've got. Now this is another style of container that I use that I would recommend. They're Western boxes. This is an A4 Western box. This is a larger size. I don't know whether they do A3, maybe they do, but I have quite a lot of the A4 and I have a few of the A5, and I also have quite a few of the little card boxes for business cards, and they're really good for putting individual items inside these larger boxes. And I do find that I have to label them, but they're the absolute perfect size for stacking on my shelving, both my wire racks but also all of my wooden shelving. It just keeps things neatly contained and I absolutely love them. You can see these smaller boxes, you can get quite a few of the smaller boxes into one of the larger ones. So if you've got lots of different styles of items that you want to keep separate, you can pop them all in these smaller boxes and then stuff them all in one of the larger boxes, and then you can just grab one and go. But they're absolutely brilliant. So again, just label the side up with my labeling machine. Then I have these other little plastic containers, absolutely fantastic. I was given these for free. I was doing some work for a community project, and they had like a lunch club, and this was their pudding. So they had all these little puddings in these pots. I think they were microwave pots, and instead of chucking them away, they washed them out and gave them to me, because why not? Because rather than throw them away and go to landfill. And they're so durable. It's one of the best things I've ever been given, because I was getting a ton of them, and they've been fantastic for just storing little bits and bobs, and they've really lasted up well, considering they're just a little freebie and we're supposed to be thrown away afterwards. Now this is my little treasure jar. I absolutely love using Kilner jars for storing things in, but I prefer the plastic containers if I have a lot to store. But because this is in glass, it feels like treasure. It's like it's almost a bit more special. So these are my special embellishments, and I've got a lot of different colours in that area, so I just rummage in there, but I feel very special when I'm opening that, and they're my really nice items that I have, and I have that on my rolling cart. Yeah, it's quite sturdy and possibly not quite as practical, but it just feels a bit more special. Now when I'm working at my desk, I tend to just get out a small amount of items and pop them in this tray, and then when I'm working I don't feel overwhelmed, and I can just segregate things in my little tray compartment. This was from Hobbycraft. They're just brilliant for stopping that overwhelm and just being able to get a few items out, and then you can just pop everything back at the end. Now the reason I have started to do this organisation is because what I want to do is sort out some little craft boxes, sort of pick up and go project boxes, because ongoing projects, that's the major issue for me. I can start something, unless it's something that I can finish quickly, often I'll just have it lying around, and that can cause chaos in the craft room. So what I wanted to do, because I'm starting to do a bit more slow stitch, was put together a few little craft boxes for myself to just be able to pick up and take out to the garden, and that way I can do a bit more sewing in the garden over the summer. So these boxes are absolutely brilliant for that. They're supposed to be for storing photographs in, I understand, but I picked up a few of these. I think they might have been from Hobbycraft as well, and originally I was actually going to use them for storing doll clothes in, but that didn't happen. So I've used one for stickers, and the others are just waiting to be filled with something else. But I love the fact that they're all different colours, because I work with colours all the time. This is what I do. I tend to sort of pick out colours and coordinating items. For example, this item here I did when my daughter was doing her homework. I just picked out a few scraps and started sewing while she was doing her homework, so she had somebody to be with her. This is a sort of pack that I'm going to put together for myself. So just add some scrap fabrics, a few beads, maybe a few sequins and buttons, that sort of thing, some thread, just a little bit so that it gets my imagination going, and I can literally just sit, do a little bit of stitching, feel all nice and calm and relaxed, don't have the overwhelm of too much stuff to go through, and the decisions are made for me, so I can just do the whole mindless sewing task. I think I might do a box made up with some paper embellishments and paper items as well. That way I'll just have kits that I can literally pick up and go with. So I don't know about you, but if you've ever tried those little kits like the Corinne Lapierre felt craft kits, they're absolutely fantastic. You can literally do one in a couple of hours. Well, that's my intention. I want to use these little boxes as sort of colour-coded craft kits for myself that I can just pick up and go. The thought has been taken out of it, all the decisions have been taken out of it really, other than a little bit of creativity that I can just pick up. It's very portable and do my own little craft kits basically, and then at the end of it hopefully I'll have a few nice little projects like that ready and completed. So for example, this one would make a nice card topper, maybe a journal topper. I'll have a few of these made up, ready to go, and then when I need a quick card or journal topper, I'll just have them ready to go because I'll have been quite productive in the garden. So it's always nice to have something like that to keep my hands busy, but it's all nicely contained and coordinated. So for me, that's actually really important because I do like to have colours that I enjoy working with and textures and stuff. And I do want to do a bit more slow stitching, but without the overwhelm of having too many products to think about. Thanks very much for joining me. Please give me a thumbs up, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care. Bye.